Good morning, this is Hallicrafters Rehabs. Welcome back. I've had quite the week. I have to have my coffee. Tuesday I took my 100.5-year-old father to go vote. And they doted over him and they were so sweet to him. The county election board supervisor came out and gave him a pin, a North Carolina presidential, I don't have a copy of it here, North Carolina presidential election 2020 with a facsimile of the presidential seal on it. So that was really cool. And I think he voted for Wendell Willkie. Might have been his first presidential vote, if that gives you a hint. At any rate, that went well. He's doing good. He's about 50-50 wheelchair again this week. And then I paid a visit to my old organization up in Richmond and got caught up on all the research things that are going on. So I felt like a traveling salesman this week. So this is my time off from all of that. So we're going to put first this assembly, which is for the bandspread steel dial string. And what do you know? It's I had the string, I thought, attached to this slotted area and had it all measured out and everything. It came loose. So much for that. So we'll have to do the alignment. We'll have to do the alignment the hard way, and it's very critical, or you won't get good movement on the band spread. That's probably why they used a steel dial string, because this is a long haul from here to here, from there to here, and it has to be tight, because what they're trying to do is do an early substitute for digital frequency. They don't have digital frequency in those days, so they read out. So you had careful indexing on the dial, which is fine, but logs were not on computers either. They were done on a piece of paper, so you could write down in your log, 103.5 is the on your band spread, and 55 or something like on the main tuning, and then you can go back to the same spot theoretically. People wanted good to be able to return. Obviously that was not universal, and you couldn't publish the kind of metal splinter in my finger just then. You couldn't publish frequency lists with indexes for just one radio, so it was not, you couldn't go from one radio to the next. And with a public say shortwave listing guide, you just went with the frequencies, and people had to find out for themselves what that would be. But still, you want it to operate the way it was intended, so we'll have to be very careful on that. Make sure it's tight. There are 3 screws here. They are Phillips head, and they probably were torqued, because it took quite a bit of force to break it initially. A little better than hand tight. There we go. Especially since I may have to readdress that to get the alignment right. Okay. So the next thing we put in is this band spread. It doesn't. The connections go to the main tuning right here, and so the only thing you have to do is put in you only have to put in the screws and ground it. I'm going to attach a little bit of grounding helper here, and then we'll come back. Okay, I got it started. We're following the instructions exactly. The spring goes through here, makes one loop around, and now we have to make a loop around this small pulley here. Mm-hmm. Wish I had dexterous fingers. I've never had that. Why do I do this, you say? Okay. Now we're going to come around. We're going to find that notch. There's the notch. It's right there. And my fingers let loose. They are my fingers and they're not dexterous. I had to just stop and work and work and work. How about this? It took about 15 minutes actually. It wasn't as long, but man, just keeping those things inside the pulleys till you get to the next stage and so forth. So, step one, throw away instructions. Actually don't. Just do it the opposite. Band spread gang fully open. Now instead of one going around this way, you start with here and go in reverse order, and this is over on the opposite side. So I mean, just a few things, just a few things that were, well, maybe it works this way, but I didn't get it to work that way. It works this way, and it's nicely done. Okay, I think that's solid. There's not going to be any issues with looseness like I had on the other one. I'm going to actually have to take the other one, take the face off, and tighten this control. And I'll probably restring it again. Another thing is it sure is a lot easier to string without the main tuning capacitor and this assembly in place. This is the time to do it. All right. So the next thing is we will put in, to go with anyway, we'll do the main tuning capacitor. It goes in like this, and I need to dress up again these soldering points to make it easy to go in. These soldering points here. You know, one of these days I'll realize where the camera is when I'm talking, but not today. Alright, this is goes here. That will be dressed up there. And then, after that, is when we'll put in the shield. It's a two-piece shield. And this has leads that go up into here. This is a ground. And this goes to the antenna compensator. So, let me get this ready to go in. Alright, so before we can put, all this is solder wick. It's a wide solder wick and it's very convenient for reattaching grounds. Now we have to attach electronically to the stators here, here, and here from the coils on the underside. I'll strip it and then solder it, and then we'll turn it around and put it in. Okay, so putting the shield back on, there are tabs here, here, and here. And then this piece slides in this way with tabs in the back and against this piece. And then they're soldered together. Sure looks a lot better cleaned up than the average shield. Now the purpose behind this is, again, you've got the band spread offset from the main tuning capacitor, so you essentially have some RF on this side and antenna on this side, and so you don't want coupling to take place between those two sections. So it's whenever you put the band spread next to the main capacitor, there's usually a shield of some sort to prevent coupling. So I'm going to solder that in. I've got the other solder connections on the back side there put together. There's some down in here, and then this will be done. So the next thing is to connect from here to here, here to here, and likewise on the antenna. And I'm trying to size these wires as close to the actual distance as possible. Just touch the microphone with the soldering iron. Okay. So the next step is to put in this antenna compensator unit here. I put the screws right in there, and this is the ground that will come from the main tuning capacitor. And here's the hot lead that comes from the inside the set. It's not really hot, but I mean the signal lead. solder. Since this ground is up and away, I don't need to insulate it. Still looks very cold. It's more like it. Solid. Check them in a second. Alrighty, those are ready. So we'll turn the set around. We got a little bit more to put on top of it, but we're getting there. Okay, the next thing we do is we're going to put this in. And we'll just take these screws out. They were just put there to not lose them. This mechanism ties the tuning capacitors to the dials, the round dials. Patent is pending. I wonder if they ever got the patent. It's a pretty complex thing here. Let's see. Trick is to bring her in sideways. There is another one. Put in a little separation here. Probably enough. All right, so by loosening these three front screws, do not remove them. Unless you're ready to take this whole thing apart, please don't. I was able to get a socket wrench down in there and tighten that screw. Then there's a screw right back here. Goes in real easy. and one back in this corner too. Now this is the action on this side. This will drive the dial plate, which also turns the dial plate is attached right here and turns the capacitor, and that's the action at the end of the capacitor. That stop goes down and prevents this from moving. Then it comes down and see this spring is actually broken, and so as a result it has to be sort of done in a hokey way, but anyway, it's working. Now we move on to this crystal calibrator switch, and that looks like it might be the last thing we need to get on here. Well, what do you know, this spring was broken, and the tips to repair it even made it worse till I had to put this in to anchor one end, and now the operation, that's up, locks the end, locked on the other end. So it's working right. Now let's get that switch. Alright, first of all, think about this before you put it in. If you put it the other way, then your knob will stick way out. You got to put it in this way. And I'm going to put it in backwards to use this as a third hand to dress up these leads, just temporarily. I actually dress up the terminals. Can't do anything sitting down at all. Alright, so we'll just take this and the quick mechanical desoldering. That's enough. Finish it in hand, and then we'll get ready to attach it. So I've had just enough juice to just finish up here. So I have to talk real fast. That's everything for on top of the chassis. The next thing to be done, I need to catalog all the resistors I replaced in my I always document what I do in a restoration report. And also, and then next will be DC checks, which is a table of DC values that I have for this set. I'll compare each pin on the tubes with the as found, as well as what the Mark I also measured, to make sure there aren't any wiring mistakes, at least on the tubes, before we begin our voltage application. That's all I can get done this week. We got to go out and do a few things, ministry things this afternoon, and then tomorrow I'll probably be doing some data research for my friends in Richmond. So this is Hallicrafters Rehabs, and thanks for watching.